welcome back to Mixtape Stories. Today we've got special guest Bryan Powell,
How's it going?
and we're talking about songs and movie trailers. Thanks for coming on, man. This is gonna be fun.
Absolutely, yeah. Excited to be here. I've been a fan of the show, and now I'm sitting here and hoping it's going to be a good episode.
Yeah,
no pressure.
We've been wanting to get you on for a while. I think I told you before, I wanted you to talk about Limp Bizkit's Faith cover for a while as a Limp Bizkit. I feel like you're the go-to Limp Bizkit person in San Antonio.
Well, it's kind of crazy. My Spotify Wrapped this year, I think it was the first year in like 5 or 6 years where Limp Bizkit hasn't been on on there, and I was like, what the fuck happened? This is weird. I feel like I let them down.
I think they probably have enough. They've garnered enough attention now to where like it's okay. You don't need to hold it down for everybody else.
They're doing fine. Yeah. They've had a resurgence lately that's awesome, but also kind of bittersweet because it's like they're cool again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, motherfucker, like I never stopped limping with the biscuit. Like, in fact, here's that's for you.
Oh, thanks, appreciate it. My wife would love this. I think that they not to get too far off topic, but
we could go all day on Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, they have embraced the camp of everything.
Yeah,
and I will admit there was a point in time where I like separated myself from them because I was embarrassed. Absolutely,
yeah.
But just recently, especially with my wife, who just like unironically loves Limp Bizkit.
She's feel like a keeper.
Yeah, that's been a big part of our relationship. But yeah, and I think now the like Gen Z kind of looks at it as like, oh, like this is like John Waters to them essentially.
Yeah, well, it's funny too. Like I think what a big turning point would be, and this might just be like my own Limp Bizkit fan theory, but like when Fred started embracing the weird too, and like dressing up like dad vibes, and now he has like different costumes, like the cowboy and shit, like. He kind of embraced the West thing of like, yeah, let's just be weird and fuck it. And like the two of them kind of like teaming up in the weirdness, I think really makes it like more fun.
Yeah, for sure. There's do you ever listen to Bandsplain with Yassi Salek?
No.
He talks about how the funniest thing about Limp Bizkit is their hottest member is the one that always wearing a mask.
Yeah.
So yeah, it all comes full circle. So you have one of my favorite Facebook groups.
Awesome.
Movie trailers, which is kind of why I pitched this to you as an idea. What started that? What made you decide to make that group?
I've just always really loved movie trailers. I mean, I'm a huge, cinephile or whatever the cool kids call it. But I remember when I was going to Northwest Vista for a short while, I was taking a screenwriting class, and this girl, she knew exactly what she wanted to do with her life, and she was so dead set, and she was just like, I want to edit movie trailers. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here to learn. Like, that's what I'm going to do. And one, I was envious that she knew what she wanted to do with her life, because I still don't know. I've never known. And just to have that, like, laser focused specialty. But two, I was kind of like, oh yeah, like there's a real art to making a movie trailer, I mean, not only do you have to know how to edit, but then to pick the right song to go with it, which I think is really important, as we'll probably talk about a lot today. But I love watching movies, and then after I watch a movie for the first time, I'll always go back and rewatch the trailer, because I like to find out, okay, was there anything in the trailer that wasn't in the movie?
Yeah.
Because sometimes that happens where during a final cut, they've already released the trailer, but it doesn't make it into the movie. So you're like, aha, that scene wasn't in there. Or it's also interesting, movies that have like a really big twist, how the trailers will kind of like purposely edit it to throw you off and make it seem like it's actually about something else. So it's just really fascinating to me. And I'm always sharing trailers with people. I was like, well, if I make this group, maybe a couple people will like it and we can share some trailers. And I think it's up to like almost 500 members, which is awesome. Which is, pretty cool.
That's dope. That's it's one of those things that I felt like when I saw that, I thought like, oh, why wasn't this a thing already? Like, why aren't there like hundreds of these groups?
I mean, there's probably like Discords and whatever else the kids are on, but I'm too old for that. I mean, I'm still on Facebook, so.
Yeah. Man, I really enjoy that group, and it's made me think a lot about, because I think trailers are something I've always liked too, but I've never really thought about it. Mm-hmm. And that the fact that they have jobs just for people to make trailers, they have no other connection to the movie other than, it's almost like making a music video essentially, or like a montage.
Right, yeah.
What are some of your? We'll get into like the each list individually, but do you have any specific like trailers that you like that aren't included on this list?
I've probably watched the trailer for Brawl in Cell Block 99 hundreds of times. Yeah. That's a movie where when it first came out, it was pre-pandemic. It was 2017, but it was kind of under the radar. But during the pandemic, I was like showing that movie to everybody. I was like, if you haven't seen this movie, watch this movie. It's streaming here. And the trailer is just, it has like a tension to it because if you haven't seen it, it's got Vince Vaughn in it, and he goes to prison and a bunch of crazy stuff happens. But in the trailer, he starts punching this window of this car. But then the sound of that carries throughout the whole trailer, and it's like, doom, doom, doom. And it just builds this like tension throughout it. And it's just such a cool kind of original trailer.
That's cool. I feel like Serious Man did that. The trailer for A Serious Man by the Coens kind of had a similar.
It does, yeah, they're kind of similar.
It's like diegetic and within, but then it goes from diegetic to being like the soundtrack. That's really cool.
Yeah.
When it comes to like making or picking a song for a trailer, what do you think about like goes into the thinking of that? Like, what is the best way to kind of handle it? What are the best songs, or does it really depend on the situation?
I think it depends on the type of movie. For one, like a lot of like rom-coms or just kind of comedies in general, action movies, you'll see them using songs in the trailers that are really popular at the time. And then sometimes you'll see trends with trailers, like around like 2016 or so, for like, especially for like horror movie trailers or disaster movies, like San Andreas with The Rock and stuff like that. There was this trend of taking like old songs or even like metal songs like Disturbed and stuff and like slowing them down and having like a female singer and making it like, like, and like, I don't know. It was just such a weird trend that you only saw for like about 4 or 5 years. So, I mean, I think it just depends on the time, depends on the culture. But, you know, there's some really good kind of timeless ones, though.
Yeah, I think
that stand out.
All 5 of the ones you picked are some of them are ones that I like forgot about when I realized like, oh yeah, this is like a no-brainer. You have to include this on this list. Other ones I had to think for a second, like, oh yeah, like I forgot all about this one. I had to rewatch the trailer. And one of them in particular was a band that I didn't think I liked. Yeah. And then watching the trailer into context, and I remember watching the trailer when it came out and thinking like, oh, this is pretty epic. This is pretty cool. And then going back now, I'm just like, I'm back in that where I was 10 years ago, seeing it for the first time. And I'm like, oh, this band's actually pretty good. So kind of just jumping into, your list. The first song you picked was Shipping Up to Boston by Dropkick Murphys. And did the Party trailer. This is, I mean, Dropkick Murphys themselves are already synonymous with Boston to a lot of the Warped Tour crowd.
It was a very smart choice for the trailer.
And now I feel like it's gone beyond that. I mean, you see, like, there's that show, Kevin Can Fuck Himself. Mm-hmm. His ringtone is this song. Yeah, yeah. And he doesn't seem like the type of person who would be into Dropkick Murphys pre-Departed. So,
by the way, that show is incredible.
It's such a great concept, and it's nailed perfectly.
Yeah, the way if you haven't seen it, it's streaming for free on Netflix. And it is so good. But the way they change the tone and the lighting on like a dime, like when she goes into a different room, oh, it's so good. The juxtaposition is I loved that show.
The thing about it too is you can remove the real life scenes and it would be a standard sitcom. Like
exactly.
It's not even like it's a parody, but it's not as much a parody as it is like an homage to those in a weird, fucked up kind of way.
Right. Oh, by the way, have you ever tried Magic Mind?
No.
Would you like to?
What is it?
It's for podcasters. Pete Holmes does it. Joe Rogan's got his alpha brain. Pete Holmes has Magic Mind. You don't have to.
I'll check it out. We're recording another one later, so maybe, yeah.
It helps calm
I'll do it with you too.
Helps calms your nerves, and it gives you calm energy. Wakes up your brain. And it gives you diarrhea.
Shit.
But yeah, so I'm not really a huge Dropkick Murphys fan. There's your soundbite. In general, But that song gets me going. Like, it's such a driving, like, and in that movie, like in the actual scene in the movie where that song plays, it's such a pivotal moment. But yeah, in the trailer, like, I think there's like one or two other songs that are also in the trailer. So it kind of only shows up for a little bit, but I think it shows up in just the right spot too in the trailer.
Yeah, because I mean, it's Scorsese, and of course, Scorsese has to have a Rolling Stone needle drop in some shape or form on the trailer or in the movie.
Right.
So it starts off with "Gimme Shelter," which is very appropriate because it's heist. I forgot we're talking about Departed, not The Town. Very criminal kind of seedy. I think of that. I think of like Goodfellas and that era of Scorsese movies. And then it goes into that kind of score, and then it pops into Dropkick Murphys, which just sets the mood for like this is Boston as fuck.
Yeah. It's very like, I mean, what else are you gonna pick?
Yeah,
it's them or Flogging Molly's, but come on. Like,
there's definitely a more. And the thing about that song too is it's a cover. It's not a cover necessarily as it is. It's a rendition of a Woody Guthrie song. The lyrics were from Woody Guthrie. Apparently, his grandson or someone young was a fan of Dropkick Murphys. The mom found out that Dropkick Murphys were fans of Woody Guthrie. They invited Albar to go through Woody Guthrie's they basically kept all of his notes, and they found this song. The song itself is about a guy who lost his wooden leg, and he's shipping it up to Boston to try to find it. And Al thought it was kind of a dumb dumb song lyrically, but it was also had this kitschiness to it, and they had been working on an instrumental which ended up becoming Shipping Up to Boston, and it just kind of came together really well, and it's become like the epitome of Boston sports and Boston identity.
Oh yeah, it's become like an anthem for sure.
Yeah, and I think that with this, it's perfect for the movie, obviously, as a Boston movie and as a Boston crime movie. There is this grittiness to it. It is very, the punk aspect of it is there, but it's also it's just fun to listen to, and you kind of associate. And this could be something that's in hindsight now because I associate it with the movie and I associate it with the trailer, especially.
Right. That
now I just have this like grittiness. It makes me want to put on like the newsy hat and like roll up my sleeves and
like I want to go drink a green beer.
Yeah.
And like punch somebody.
Yeah.
That movie is that's one of those movies too where you rewatch it with today's like everything going on. You're like, oh shit, I didn't realize there was that many like F words and R words and N words and everything else words. It's like Jack Nicholson is ruthless.
Yeah. And it's a remake of, was it a Chinese movie, Internal Affairs?
Yeah, Internal Affairs, yeah.
So I love, people always...
Which a lot of people don't know, I think.
Yeah, a lot of people talk shit about, especially remaking foreign language movies, I should say, and kind of bringing an American edge to it, because it can be kind of templative where they're just doing the same movie. The fact that they make it so Scorsese makes it clearly like it's a Boston movie that it's easy to forget, even if you're very familiar with the original movie.
Right. Taking the source material and making it your own, I think, is always a much better choice. But it also doesn't go well a lot of the time. I mean, look at the American Old Boy with Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck was that? Like, I don't know. There's always an exception to the rule, though. I think The Departed is one of the best exceptions to the rule.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest difference with especially using Old Boy as an example is that there's so much about Old Boy that is inherently Chinese filmmaker. Like it's hard to like replicate that and kind of turn it into American. Like I've talked about the US version of Skins a lot on here.
Oh yeah.
And it's just weird because they did like a carbon copy of the UK version, but there's just something about the US version that just felt the acting wasn't horrible. It just, I don't know what it was. The writing was the same. It just felt very like caricature, like.
Yeah. It didn't feel authentic.
Yeah,
it was just missing that something that you can't replicate.
Yeah, and I think Scorsese, like we said, is very good about picking songs for needle drops. Apparently, this song was brought to him by a producer. There's like, I don't know how true this is, but apparently Dropkick Murphys when they found out that The Departed was being filmed there, they were trying to get their song on the soundtrack, and they were like trying to talk to different people and giving out CDs.
Hustling.
Yeah, it was a Warped Tour parking lot, like just getting people to listen to it. But I think there was an actual
my demo.
Yeah, but there was actually a producer who brought it to Scorsese. A producer is Robbie Robertson of the band. He actually introduced him to the song. And that's crazy for like...
He's like, oh, this is perfect. This is perfect for the movie. That's not a good... Does anybody do a good impression of Scorsese?
I feel like Kyle Mooney does a pretty decent one on SNL.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I forgot about that. That was great.
But yeah, it's just so crazy. And I think that there's obviously like a shift from them. I mean, I liked them before then. And this isn't me trying to like sound like superior in any way of... I wouldn't call liking Dropkick Murphys being a hipster thing, but I love going to Warped Tour to see them and things like that. And then they kind of elevated from this point on, and it's cool to see that they are still kind of within those roots of the way the band was before, and now they just have a lot more money.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way it goes if you're lucky.
Do you remember like watching the trailer for the first time, or around the time when you had the sudden? Do you remember your reaction to watching it?
I actually don't remember first watching it. I remember when I first saw the movie, and I think that made me at the time be like, oh my God, I think I'm a Dropkick Murphys fan. Like, how do I tell my friends? Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just, man, especially the roof scene where they throw Martin Sheen off the roof and they give him the wrong address and they find out, like, I don't know, man. Yeah, that's a movie where I kind of wish I could go back and watch it again the first time. That's
one of those things where the Eternal Sunshine like method, I would love to use that to experience it, but at the same time, watching things over and over again does kind of add like to the palette of understanding the movie or even just appreciating the movie.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's like that old saying where you never step into the same river twice. It's like every time you watch a movie, even if you've seen it 100 times, there's always something new that you get from a new viewing, which is also fun.
Oh, for sure. And it's kind of like I always do this with music when it comes to like listening to certain music as a teenager versus now. It's about like spreading your palette. It's almost like an RPG. You don't have the skill level to really appreciate this type of music.
Yeah.
And I feel like with certain movies, it's the same movie. You don't have there are some movies you have to watch 10 times before it like really gets going. Mm-hmm. And some people, I especially don't have the patience for some movies with that.
Or especially like when you watch a movie when you're younger.
Yeah.
And then you rewatch it as an adult and you're like, oh, that's what that meant.
Yeah.
Like there's so many comedies I saw as a kid that like I didn't understand what they were even talking about, especially like some of like the dialogue if it was sexual or whatever. And I rewatch it as an adult and I'm like, holy shit. Like I saw that when I was 10 and I laughed, but I didn't even know what that meant. Like
there's something about Mary is the first one that comes to mind. I remember laughing in the theater and my brother, who's 2 years younger than me, is like, what is that? What's that on his ear? And I'm just like, no, you just don't get it. And I didn't get it. And my mom like took me aside because I felt like she thought I was old enough to have this conversation. She's like, you know what that was, right? And I was like, I don't. What was it?
Please tell me.
So she actually explained it, and it's weird. Like thinking.
She was
about,
like, "Son, that was cum." Yeah. Now go eat your cereal.
It wasn't too far from that. It was. She's like, "That was semen." She whispered it to me.
Wow.
But I need to correct myself because I've been saying Al Barr. The lead singer is Ken Casey. My uncle was a big Dropkick Murphys fan, and he's probably was yelling when I said Al Barr because I think Al Barr is a different band member. But yeah, I think that solid choice to start off with. I think it's a song. I mean, it's a dope song too. I mean, it's just so fun, even out of context of the movie itself.
Yeah. I mean, that song's popped up on a couple random playlists all throw together. You know, I mean, there's certain songs that like I'll listen to when I just really, you know, either it's a long drive and I need to be woken up or whatever the case. Like Slipknot, People Equal Shit is one of those songs for me. It's just so driving, but like anything with like a beat like that, like Shipping Up to Boston, is definitely one of those songs.
It's definitely a good alarm song too.
I can't even name, I think, another Dropkick Murphys song. Like I've heard a few, but that song is really, I mean, it's been a part of my playlist for a long time.
That's dope. So now for something completely different. You picked I Got Five on It from Luniz for the Us trailer. I want to say thank you because we need more hip hop on this show, and it's not like a slight on anybody else here before. I didn't realize this till I was looking into research for this, and I was like, oh man, we definitely need more hip hop. And
Yeah.
Luniz, they had kind of a comeback when this trailer came out in the sense that people were talking about them for the first time in like 20, 30 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is one of those good examples of that kind of trend I was talking about, like where they would take a classic song and kind of slow it down or remix it. And as far as like the horror movie trailers go and the kind of trend, I think this song with this trailer, I think absolutely nails it.
Yeah.
On both counts. It's a perfect horror trailer, and the song just elevates it perfectly. It's so creepy. If you were to listen to it by itself, maybe not so much, but every time I hear that song now, I'm just like, oh, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Come here.
And it's always...
Yay! Look, you gave me your stickers.
The song itself has always had this kind of weird melancholy for a song that's about pitching in to buy like a dime bag. And yeah, I think that the vocals in there are so like haunting by themselves. So what's the guy's name? Marshall something. He's amazing.
Yeah.
This is a first. He's never done. Come on, you want to get that? Okay.
It's a Teddy boy first.
Yeah, I mean the song itself, that's kind of the root of the song. I forget that there's even like rapping on the song. And yeah, you hit it on the head. Like it's the perfect song for that trailer because I mean I love when especially when okay, come on, I'm gonna have to edit this out.
Let the boy watch.
No, I love when there's an embrace of the culture, and being able to do that in a way a lot of people haven't seen. I mean, when I think of like, black filmmakers or even like just black movies with the horror, there's always like a kitschiness to it. You think of like Bones with Snoop Dogg. You think,
yeah.
And then was it
Killjoy the Clown or Tales from the Hood?
Tales from the Hood was the one, yeah.
Yeah. It's very, I mean, it started with like Blackula and all the blaxploitation movies of the 70s and earlier. But yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of like when Stranger Things, launched Master of Puppets and then Kate Bush. But I feel like Jordan Peele, I feel like it was on purpose.
Yeah.
Because they even talk about the song in the trailer, which is also a scene in the movie where they're talking about what the song means. So I feel like because he loves to elevate, black actors and artists and kind of, maybe introduce a new generation or audience to things that he grew up with or loved.
Absolutely. I think that, and it's something that I don't know if Peele is like an older millennial or he's like a younger Gen X, but millennials get this accusation a lot about like everything is driven in nostalgia. I mean, if you look at like when we were young fest, like.
Yeah, well, I mean, and look at the Y2K trailer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Fred Durst is all over it, and Kyle Mooney and him are like eating hot ones and stuff to promote it. I mean, it's so our prime time of our lives, like late 90s, early 2000s, is like already the cool thing again. Like it's come full circle. Like the 80s, like when we were younger, it was like 80s parties were cool. Now it seems like, at least with all the movies and stuff coming out, it's very our generation is like in again.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is like now we're at the age where we're running, like our generation's running studios or...
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
It's fun to look back at these movies, and I mean, I think the first one I remember was Lady Bird was the first like quote unquote period piece from like when I was in high school, and now it's kind of everywhere, and it's funny to see like Gen Z and even Gen Alpha kind of talk shit about millennials in a way that is very like earned. Like we definitely deserve a lot of this cringe talk.
It just makes me feel old.
Yeah.
Like they have their own version of Okay Boomer, but it's directed at us. Yeah. And it's like, oh, ow.
It feels a lot like Dane Cook and Waiting. Like, what the fuck did I do to you, man? Like, we were really fans of you guys. But at the same time, they're doing this while wearing fucking Lizzie McGuire like shoes or like wearing like what is it, like low-rise jeans and things that were popular when we were in high school.
Luckily, there's no photos of me ever wearing Jinkos or anything like that, but you know, I definitely had like the ball chain necklaces and all the Hot Topic bracelets and all that.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to wear Jinkos because apparently they were gang related. My mom had a lot. She saved me from a lot of like future embarrassment. Like I wasn't allowed to get a Kango hat because of that. Jinko jeans were gang related. So I in hindsight, like young me, like definitely was pissed. But now I'm like, okay, thanks, Mom. Like I don't have any embarrassing photos like that.
Thank God I never got gauges or something.
But yeah, I think that, you know, Jordan Peele, he's so good at like capturing a mood. I think he's 3 for 3. I know Us doesn't get the type of acclaim that like Get Out does. Yeah. And I think some people put Nope over it. I probably put Nope over it too. I love Nope.
I think Nope is actually his masterpiece.
Oh yeah?
I mean, Us was groundbreaking, but it's, you know, it's Stepford Wives, it's Body Snatchers, you know, it's in a modern way and using race, you know, tension and relation and stuff in it. But he definitely cemented his place as a you know, iconic visionary. And Us was cool. I need to rewatch it. It's been a while. I mean, I think the trailer is absolutely incredible. But I think Nope is, I mean, he showed us an alien like a way we've never seen before. Yeah. Like the space is, the ship is, I mean, that was so kind of mind-blowing and cool. And just the themes throughout it of being like seen and trying to control nature and the whole thing with the monkey and all that. I mean, love it. Loved every second of it.
Yeah, I think that this is a conversation I've always wanted to have, and I feel like I need to now that we're recording. Him and Ari Aster.
It's not real unless it's recorded.
Him and Ari Aster are kind of synonymous in the sense that they both came up around the same time. Yeah. Had a huge hit. Had
Eggers too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The Witch, and then the Witch and Northman, and what else did he do? The Lighthouse.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like Eggers is more art house than these two, though, even though they do have like aspects of their filmmaking that are kind of art housey.
Yeah. Well, they're all kind of horror too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I feel like Nope separated Peele because I hated Beau is Afraid so much.
I'm so conflicted. I need to rewatch it, but who has the time?
Yeah. 3.5 hours, 3 hours.
It was like a panic attack, though.
Oh yeah,
and
the
then
first half is amazing.
I was like the fucking cock monster thing. I was like, I swear to God, I had this feeling, and sometimes I have this, and maybe it's because I, you know, am way too much into pot and shit now, and I'll have flashbacks sometimes. But after I saw that, I was like, okay, did that really happen, or did I imagine that?
Yeah,
like, dude, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know how it got made, how that got approved, how nobody was like, "What the? Are you okay?"
Oh, it was his blank check because Midsommar is amazing.
I think Hereditary is one of the best horror movies of the last 15 years.
It's one. That second half of Beau is Afraid, for one thing, dragged on forever, and then another thing is it felt like The Emperor's New Clothes. Like I felt like people are gonna leave this and say like, "Oh, he's a genius." I'm gonna be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like. And then part of me thinks that he was just fucking with everybody.
Yeah. It still follows the same themes he's always had of like weird family dynamics and family trauma and stuff, but it definitely went off the rails.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's parts of it I really love, like when he's at the play in the forest and then he kind of like, it kind of goes into that sort of animated part.
Yeah.
Like that was really kind of existential and crazy, and it looked really cool visually, but yeah, after that, shit got really weird, and I was like, what was the point? What happened? What, like, yeah, I want to rewatch it, but I'm also like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He let me down pretty hard. I mean, the tension and the themes are cool, but
yeah, and that's the thing too. I think that there is, I don't know, it just felt like one big like prank at the end, at least. That also has a really good trailer. That trailer had me pumped for seeing it. My wife and I, we wanted to leave like several times throughout the movie, but we've never left the movie, so we were like,
I haven't either. I'm very proud of that.
But yeah, you know, coming back to Peele, I think Us is going to be looked back as. I mean, it did pretty well in the theaters. It didn't do as well as Get Out, but I think it's going to be looked back with higher praise just because of what it did. And there's a suspension of belief, and it does feel like a Twilight Zone episode, and just funny because I think that kind of got him to Twilight Zone.
Yeah. That was a good reboot. I mean, yeah, those episodes were pretty good.
But I just love the way he kind of brings in everything. I remember because Key and Peele was kind of, when it comes to, at least from what I've seen on like my side of the people I follow on Black Twitter, like it was kind of like, it was polarizing in the sense that it was very, there was aspects of it that felt like it was kind of catering more to non-POCs. And then, so when Get Out, the trailer came out, I remember thinking, like, seeing people talk about, like, oh, this is going to be bad. And those same people, after they saw it, were like, oh, no, like, Peele he's great. Like, he might be in a tier with some of the greater directors. And yeah, I mean, I think he's so good with these trailers, getting these trailers set up too. And when you have so many moments in his movies that are made to make this type of trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, he knows how to set up a shot for sure.
Yeah. And you see that in Key and Peele too. There are certain like sketches where, like the Urkel one, like that's such a like goofy concept, but you are legitimately scared for Reginald Val Johnson's life.
Yeah. Well, and even like their zombie ones and their kind of pseudo horror comedy sketches.
Yeah.
Like the quality. I mean, just the way they're shot too, and the camera and the color grading, like they don't look like a typical comedy sketch.
Oh yeah.
Like they look very cinematic. And I feel like he's always kind of had that, like, especially like when because they've done several horror sketches too throughout the series. Like you could kind of almost like see it coming, like you could kind of see Peele's kind of like little like nuggets or like breadcrumbs of like, hey, this is eventually going to lead to a horror career.
Yeah. And I just,
in movies.
Yeah. I think that he does something with his movies that it does transcend horror, and it goes beyond the like stereotype now of like elevated horror. I mean, it is to an extent, but it's not just that. At the end of the day, like I said, Us is essentially a Twilight Zone episode, like stretched out, and you have to suspend your belief for it. And there's a lot of like little plot holes here and there, but you don't care. Like it doesn't matter because you're just watching for this story, and then there's a lot of questions at the end too. And
when you see the rabbits in the trailer, you're like, what the fuck is this about?
Yeah. And yeah, bringing it back to the song itself, I think that turning that song into like now something that's synonymous with horror movies is fucking genius.
The ding, 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 ding. I mean, just like the very first few seconds of the song too. I mean, it's already like chill down my spine,
And you know how like there is a stereotype for these types of movies where, especially with family horror movies, where the family's happy and they're like in the car, and then it kind of like little by little you start seeing whispers of things or little things that kind of rear their head where it shows that this is a horror movie. The whole time the song is playing, and it's staying the same, and it is kind of diluting into the sound of the trailer itself. But yeah, it's something that, like you said, is synonymous now. You hear that song and then you think of like, oh man.
Yeah.
For something completely different, again, your third song was All Star by Smashmouth.
Okay, listen. The reason I picked All Star by Smashmouth, well, it was several reasons. One, I think it is one of the most pivotal songs of the 90s. And I was this is just a brief story here, but I was at a 90s party, and we literally had like a bracket thing for like best 90s song. And we had like Barbie Girl, Blue by Eiffel 65, Be My Lover by LaBouche, all the hits, right? And All the Small Things by Blink-182 ended up winning, which pissed me off because Blink-182 is an all-time favorite band. But that's my least favorite song by them. Man. I think it's overrated garbage. I think it's disgusting. Be My Lover by LaBouche should have won Best 90s Song, or Smashmouth All-Star second place.
It's such an iconic song for multiple reasons because it's had this like afterlife and then an afterlife of that afterlife.
Right. Well, and Shrek commandeered the song. Like people immediately just link it with like, oh, okay, Smash Mouth All-Star, yeah, that's the Shrek song, right? But Mystery Men came out way before that, and unlike Shrek, which I actually found out doing research for this, it actually uses the song in the trailer.
Yeah.
And it's in the movie too, I believe. But Mystery Men also, what a fucking banger of a movie.
The underrated movie.
It's so good. It's probably one of the best ensemble casts since like Mars Attacks or, I mean, Departed or something. I mean, everybody in that movie is somebody. Even the minor characters, you have like Eddie Izzard and Tom Waits and like
Paul Rubens.
Paul Rubens is one of the Mystery Men team. Janine Garofalo, Ben Stiller, William H. Macy, you name it. But then like Dane Cook is even a cameo when they're doing the tryouts for like
The Waffler.
Yeah. Waffle Man! Like everybody in that movie is somebody, and it's just so great. And also, when did that come out?
99.
99. That was the first.
98 maybe.
That was the first on-screen interracial marriage I saw too. William H. Macy plays the shoveler, and his wife is black. And I think for the time, especially for like a comedy mainstream movie, like that was pretty progressive and pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's so funny. Another digression. My wife and I were watching Richie Rich recently, and
Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah,
Fuck.
And we were talking about his group of friends. Back in the 90s, there was this. It was common to have a diverse group of friends, and it didn't feel like it was checking boxes,
right?
And I feel like
it just felt natural, like The Sandlot, or all those movies. Yeah,
it felt like if you do that now, it's gonna have a bunch of people yelling about how woke it is and all this other bullshit.
Right.
And
they have to have so many, like,
yeah.
Like, what racist thing are you about to say? Go ahead.
Yeah. Like. So yeah, Mystery Men is another like ensemble cast that it checks off boxes without trying it. It seemingly at least not trying to check out boxes.
Yeah,
and I know it's based on a comic, but I feel like it's for the people who enjoyed it then, especially. It's become its own thing to where I forget it was even a comic. Yeah,
same. Also, Greg Kinnear.
Yeah,
talk about a guy who like, I don't know, like. He's one of those guys where like I always kind of forget about him, but like anytime I see him in anything, I'm always happy to see him.
He's great at playing a smug asshole. Like like he's got that on pat to where when I see him playing somebody who's like he's in Baby Mama and he's a love interest, I'm just waiting for him to be.
See that.
I'm waiting for him to be an asshole, and he doesn't. Spoiler alert. But yeah, that movie's great. All-Star is used effectively to the point where they did a cross-promotion for the music video. The All-Star music video has scenes, and then they have like...
Yeah. That's something I miss so much, too. Oh, my God. Doing a music video for a movie and having like the cast in the video or having the band like playing in like a scene from the movie. Let's bring that back.
Yeah. That's something that... I was talking to someone about that recently. I was talking to Josh about it on the 80s episode, the 80s movie montage episode.
Love Josh.
You don't see that enough anymore, and it's funny that people don't associate this song with that movie as much because the music video is a cross promotion. But then again, music videos are kind of an artifact of the time now too. You don't see a lot of music videos now. This was only a couple years before Shrek. And the funny thing about Shrek is this is pretty common knowledge, so they use All-Star as kind of like a fill-in for the intro, and they had this original song written. The guy went to go show it to the executives, and when they showed it to them, they're like, this is good, but why don't we just use All-Star? They were like, okay. This guy wrote this whole song, I don't even know if it ever like was released separately, but it became iconic again, and this is literally only 2 or 3 years later. And
they used like several Smashmouth songs in Shrek too.
They did a cover of I'm a Believer by the Monkees.
Yeah.
I think that closes out the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see this kind of memification of All-Star 10 years later after Shrek, where it's continued to be this. It's basically the Rickroll of the 2010s.
Oh yeah.
And the band itself, like the band, I mean, obviously they're cashing checks from this. This is paying for a lot of stuff for them. They don't have any
paying for the funeral.
Well, he wasn't in the band when he died. He would replace. Actually, I don't think they have any original members anymore.
Really?
The guy that did most of if not all, the songwriting. Greg Camp, he was a guitarist. He left in 2011, so he left before Steve left. So now it's a weird type of like tribute band, but they're the official band.
What the?
I don't know if there are any original members. I think they're kind of doing the '90s band thing where they play like state fairs.
Yeah.
Mark McGrath's really self-aware about this, and when he talks about it, it's like, yeah, we used to play arenas, now we're playing state fairs, and we still love what we do. And I feel like that's become a...
Wait, are we talking about Sugar Ray or Smashmouth?
Well, Mark McGrath from Sugar Ray is very self-aware about it, because he's another one. They're another one of those bands.
Yeah.
That kind of do that circuit, and I mean it pays apparently.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know if it's really the equivalent, but like it reminds me of when certain actors like Robert Patrick, who played like the T-1000 and stuff, not a super strong career, but like pretty steady and solid. But like he's one of those guys where like I always see him at like conventions, like signing autographs and sitting in a chair looking miserable, because it's like, well, that's how he gets his bread and butter, I guess.
He was great on Peacemaker. I don't know if
that's true. Yeah, as his dad.
And I think that he's kind of interesting in the sense that even if he just has like resting whatever the like masculine version of resting bitch face is.
Yeah.
But he
resting
seems,
T-1000 face.
Yeah. He seems very comfortable with that. Fun fact, did you know his brother is the lead singer of Filter?
No.
I had no idea they were related.
Leave life bleeding in my hands.
That's Fuel.
Oh, fuck.
Filter is...
Filter. Hey, man, nice shot?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, I got Fuel and Filter mixed up. Look at me. Embarrassing.
I've gotten Shimmer by Fuel mixed up with a Goo Goo Dolls song, so it happens.
I could see that. Absolutely.
But yeah, with these 90s bands, I feel like there is a sense of... Oh, thank you. There is a sense of... There's a sense of nostalgia, but it's in such a different way than it is with like the 2000s emo thing that's going on now. And I don't really understand why. I don't know if it's because millennials are... They're just so quick to nostalgize that now that we have like income that can afford these kinds of things, that's what we're doing with it. Whereas Gen X probably was too cool to care, which is why like, oh, hey, like they're playing State Fair. I guess I'll go see it, but I'm not going to go pay $300 to go see it at a festival what is the Wonderland Festival that Everclear does. So yeah, I think that it's fun to kind of look back and see just 5 to 10 years of separation between these eras of bands and how they're kind of doing now in their life cycle as a band. Yeah.
It's kind of the same with like movies and stuff too, though. Like now that I have, more money than I did when I was a kid, I'm like, I find myself rebuying like stuff I used to have, or just kind of like buying, the reaction figures of like Terminator and, Mars Attacks and like, just like different stuff. Like I have a lot of Alien toys and Alien stuff. And just to like surround myself in my home office with like things that like, maybe it's like a comfort thing more so than like nostalgia, but it's like, I don't know, it's like my happy place.
Yeah.
And I'm also reconsidering buying DVDs again because physical media is just, it has such a charm to it. And I don't know, like everything being digital is great and all, but like when you're trying to find a specific movie and it's like, it's not anywhere, sorry, or you have to pay to rent it. And it's like, well, I have it on DVD. I just don't have a DVD player. Like, I'll fucking buy a DVD player.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I actually forgot where I was going. Oh, CDs and movie soundtracks. Holy shit. Like, that was a time. Like, when a CD album would drop, like, right before a movie came out and you'd buy the movie soundtrack, like, I had Mortal Kombat, I had Scream 3, I had Idle Hands. That was an awesome soundtrack. Like, what happened to those?
Yeah.
Like, my God. I feel like Y2K would be a perfect time to, like, release an actual physical CD, too, to go with the theme.
Yeah.
And because that soundtrack's going to be amazing. It's going to be, like, all songs we've heard.
I love
from childhood.
I love to see, like, Not Another Teen Movie did this with their soundtrack where they had contemporary bands cover 80s songs.
Oh, that's right.
So it would be fun to see that with Y2K. Like,
that would be cool.
But yeah, that's a good point. I feel like outside of like Guardians of the Galaxy, which has great soundtracks, and And outside of that, and I think the last like soundtrack I remember wanting, other than like musical soundtracks, I don't know if you've seen Sing Street, but that's like one of my favorite movies of all time.
I have another friend who that's one of his favorite movies, and
Highly recommended.
Yeah,
I
need to see it.
Do you like That Thing You Do?
Yes.
So
and I know what it's about. I've watched the trailer, and I was like, this does look good.
It gives a lot of That Thing You Do vibes, but lower stakes.
Okay.
And it's super Irish. I'd recommend subtitles. It's great. But yeah, other than like that and like Guardians of the Galaxy, the last real soundtrack I remember wanting was the Life Aquatic soundtrack, because it was all Portuguese David Bowie covers. So having that theme, outside of those things, you don't really see it a lot. And I miss tie-ins. I miss, like we were talking about, like album tie-ins with movies where, I mean, you don't have like a Young Gun soundtrack where those were made for that movie as often as you did before.
Yeah. Or like when you'd have like Triple X, like the movie, and Rammstein's playing like in the actual movie, and it's like Blink-182's in American Pie, and The Offspring is in Idle Hands.
Yeah.
Gets his head ripped off. Like, let's put more bands back in movies. But again, I don't know. Y2K has Fred Durst in it. I'm sure something funny will happen to him, and he'll probably die. And
he's also in. Have you seen?
I Saw the TV Glove.
Yes.
Yeah. I did not even know that was him.
Neither did I. It wasn't until I was like either I was reading the credits or it was on IMDb after the movie.
Yeah.
He was great, and
that movie kind of freaked me out.
It was something we got, like my wife,
and the moon face man part.
Oh
where
yeah,
it's all like in your face and like warping. I was like, ah.
My wife and I talked about, we love watching movies and we talk about it after it on our way home.
Yeah.
And we were talking about like, oh, this is about nostalgia. This is about growing up. And we get home, we're like, oh, this is about being trans. And we felt like really shitty allies because we were like, oh man, completely over our head.
Yeah. And I got home and I was like, it was about Limp Bizkit. Yeah. I didn't even see him. Yeah, no, that movie was, that's another one where it's like, I want to rewatch it because I know for sure I missed a lot of the themes and a lot of the, you know, I'm not like a pretentious movie guy to you know, not admit when I need to re-see something.
Yeah, and I liked it as it was, you know, but having this,
visually it was beautiful.
Oh yeah. Having this other, like the actual meaning of it, I definitely heightens it to where when I watch it again, I'm definitely noticing things here and there. So the next song you have is by a band that I thought I hated. And it's not because I didn't like their music, it's because I associate them with this Appalachian, you're like these foreign countries doing Appalachian music in the like early 2010s. And the whole time I thought of Monsters and Men did that Ho Hey song, which is actually the Lumineers. So I'm like, yeah, that band kind of sucks. I don't like them.
Yeah.
I don't like Mumford & Sons. But then I watched this trailer again, and I had no idea that this was them in the trailer. So the song is Dirty Paws by Monsters and Men. It's For the Secret Life of Walter Mitty. A movie that I've never seen, but I remember wanting to see it when I saw this trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, this song, well, and this band in general is not something I ever listened to. They've never been on my radar. I've never listened to them, but this trailer and this movie is just like so beautiful and so life affirming. And there's just something about the song. I mean, it's one of those things where I can't picture that trailer without the song.
Yeah.
And they both just elevate each other so much, and the music definitely adds like a life affirming, but also kind of like you're saying, like the Appalachian stuff, like that kind of sound actually like fits the vibe of the trailer perfectly. Yeah, because he's like traveling a lot, and there's a lot of like weird stuff going on, and yeah, I mean, I really picked that song because I'm picking that trailer, not the other way around, but I think they work really good together.
Yeah, and the thing about this song too, and I listening to it, watching the trailer, I thought I was watching the wrong trailer because it sounds a little Death Cabby. The beginning, the intro, or at least the intro part of the trailer, the part of the song used in the trailer, and then it gets into like the more like kind of like folksy, like picking banjo-y sound. And then it kind of reaches a point where it sounds a little bit like Explosions in the Sky.
Yeah, it kind of crescendos and like builds like to a kind of a wall of noise sort of apex.
It feels a lot more, I guess it feels a lot. I guess a lot less like a caricature of an Appalachian song like these other bands.
Like Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like cosplay, and it could. I mean, maybe because they're from Iceland and they got really into this type of music. The funny thing about this is I didn't realize this kind of put them on the map in America, at least, because
this movie,
the trailer, yeah.
Wow.
They had huge like uptick in sales for like their downloads after the trailer came out, and it was kind of a weird situation where I don't know. There's mention of a producer showing Ben Stiller, who directed and starred in the movie. For the trailer, they had like a compilation of Icelandic songs, and I guess maybe because there's a whole section of the movie that's like in the Arctic or in like snowy mountains, he wanted somebody from Iceland, I guess, and he thought Bjork might not fit the trailer, and he picked this song from it, and yeah, they kind of blew up a little bit for about a year or so after this.
That's awesome.
It's the song itself is kind of like Animal Farm. It's like these warring animals, and the war was started by bees, apparently. I haven't looked too much into the lyrics other than the general theme.
He was high when he wrote it. Let's be real.
I mean, maybe it's just an Iceland thing. I mean,
they're like, bees are bad.
Yeah.
Don't save the bees. In Iceland, they beat up our kids.
But yeah, so I mean, thematically, it doesn't really lyrically doesn't go with the tone of the trailer, but sonically it's just amazing. And it's something I watched it a few times the other day, and I think all these other ones I've watched just like once or twice, but it was just a beautiful trailer. I mean, the shots itself, I mean, the cinematography in the movie,
and the color grading is beautiful.
You've got a lot to work with in that. And it's funny because up until doing research for this, I always thought this was a Zemeckis movie. And it has that kind of like, Zemeckis is really big on like boomer porn, where there's a lot of nostalgia and a lot of like, it kind of exploits those feelings of like back in the day.
Yeah.
And I got that kind of vibe from the trailer back then, but like watching it now into context, like, no, this isn't Zemeckis, kind of put a different light on it. And like, I think I don't know if this was Stiller trying to do Oscar bait, because it feels like he just wanted to make this fun movie. It's based on a short story. And it's actually a remake of a 1947 movie, apparently.
Yeah.
So I look at this kind of like as a passion project for him that I don't know if he really anticipated it doing well in the award circuit, but that trailer's so good.
Yeah. Well, and I will say too, like, for somebody who hasn't seen the movie, it doesn't feel like Oscar bait, like when you're watching it. It's, it just kind of feels like, Into the Wild kind of vibes. Like it's very much about like getting outside of yourself, and I mean, a lot of the scenes, obviously from the trailer, are like from his imagination, and he's really kind of a cowardice kind of introverted sort of person, and he goes on this great journey to find Sean Penn's character, and for a little subplot action. But yeah, I mean, it's just a classic sort of coming of age, or like finding yourself kind of a film. And God, it's a beautiful watch. I was not expecting to like this movie so much. Yeah, I mean, it kind of came out of left field and wowed me. But also, I mean, Ben Stiller, like as a directorial kind of, it's like kind of a divergence from I mean, the Cable Guy or Tropic Thunder.
Even Reality Bites, like it's Even though thematically, now that I'm thinking about it, Reality Bites does have similar themes.
That's true. I mean, movies. As far as a director goes, though, I mean, Ben Stiller's I don't think he's really missed as far as movies he's directed.
He is pretty underrated, and the diversity of it all too. Like you said, like everything is pretty different. And
Tropic Thunder is one of the best comedies.
Yeah,
I mean, The Cable Guy, classic Jim Carrey.
That's a movie that's aged better than I would have expected, and I like appreciate it a lot now. Whereas when I saw it as a kid, I was kind of disappointed, and I don't know why. I don't remember why. He also does Severance, and there's a lot of parts of this trailer that feel like, this could have been like a precursor to Severance. These kind of droning like 9-to-5 white collar job scenes.
Yeah. Where you feel trapped.
Yeah. But yeah, great song, great trailer.
You need an Icelandic adventure after you work for the man all day.
And the fact, I mean, there's a lot of stuff on there that's very on the nose, like, oh, he works for Life magazine, but he doesn't have a life. Like, you know, like there's aspects of that I think maybe kind of push people away from it. I was actually,
Sure.
I'm in a movie club, and we were talking about Zemeckis and how he's, like, we're talking about Here specifically, which I haven't seen yet, but the saccharine nature of Zemeckis. And one of the people, and I like Zemeckis for the most part, like probably 90% of the movies he's done. But he was talking about, this guy in my film club was talking about how the thing about like the sacchariness of it is sometimes people just aren't into earnestness. And while Zemeckis may not always be earnest, when he is, like, it makes a big difference than just trying to do Oscar bait, boomer nostalgia.
Right. And there's also a lot of like reading into something too much, right? Like,
Yeah.
Like I have a lot of film nerd friends that are like, oh, let's critique it and let's, you know, and like everything they watch has to be like an art house film or have like a 4-point average on Letterboxd or something. And I'm like, dude, like some of my favorite movies are like RoboCop and Total Recall. Like sometimes a movie can just be fun.
Yeah.
Like just fucking turn your brain off and have fun. Not everything has to have a double meaning or whatever.
That's something I think that I've kind of grown over. I was definitely that type of person in high school.
I appreciate both, you know?
Yeah. And I think that that's when I started calling movies films. And like, I took a video tech class, and our teacher was great. And she showed me a lot of movies. That's how I got into like Soderbergh's like indie stuff, like Bubble. And like, I got really into City of God because I feel everybody who was 17 when it came out got into it. And it still holds up, still great. And I've come to appreciate the fact that now, like, just because you like a movie doesn't mean it's good, and just because you don't like a movie doesn't mean it's bad.
Absolutely. And being able to understand that and acknowledge that, I think, is really important.
It's also, I think, important to understand the opposite, too. It's just because a movie's bad doesn't mean that you can't like it, too, you know?
Yeah. My favorite band is Limp Bizkit. Like, I'm fully aware of how bad they are. That doesn't mean something inside me that's broken that loves it is not valid. But yeah, I mean, like my probably top 10 or top 100 movie list, like it's very all over the place. Good films, art films, shit films. Why is this even on here? Films. I mean, something that's just nostalgic and it means so much to me at a certain point in my life, but maybe I wouldn't even rewatch it because I don't want to ruin the memory of it because I know it's probably bad.
Yeah.
But it's good up here. Like, you know, we all have movies like that.
That's kind of the point
and
of this.
bands and everything.
Yeah, that's kind of the point of this podcast in the sense that associating memories with these songs, and that's what I kind of want to try to get out of guests. And I feel like that kind of, it's something that I'm really happy to see when people talk about these things with the frame of the perspective of when they heard the song or when they saw these trailers, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, this band's a good example. Like, I don't think I would ever seek this band out or find this band naturally because they don't really align with the other kind of music I listen to or have listened to. But after seeing this trailer, I'm like, I will always love this song.
Yeah. So you've been talking about like art house movies. Kind of takes us to the movie Kinds of Kindness. Sweet Dreams by the Eurythmics is featured heavily in the trailer. I like Yorgos in the sense that he really swings for the fences. I liked Poor Things. I haven't watched a lot of his other stuff. I think that he's the type of person he's a type of director or type of filmmaker that just has fun with what he's doing. And it sounds like he doesn't have a lot of people holding him back from certain things. Yeah. I haven't seen Kinds of Kindness yet, but this is a great trailer. And the music is like what kind of makes it even takes it to another level. Yeah.
No, I mean the trailer kind of plays like a music video.
Yeah.
I mean, it's edited very like to the beat. And first of all, this song is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been good. Marilyn Manson covered it. It's pretty good, different. But like this original song, I've always loved it ever since I was a kid and first heard it. But yeah, I really think that this trailer is a piece of art. It's so good. I mean, I could watch the trailer all day. The movie might be in the minority. It was okay.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like Yorgo's kind of getting to a point where it'll be like a coin toss, if I like it or not. But I don't know. Poor Things visually was incredible. Some of the stuff, like 40 minutes of the movie just being her getting fucked and stuff, and
yeah.
That's her exploring her womanhood. Like, a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's a pro-feminist thing." I was like, I don't know. It was based on a book written by a man, directed and written by a man. And when it all comes down to it, at the end of the day, like, her brain is a baby's brain.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like
A little gross.
It's a little gross, a little inappropriate, a little feels like it's like men controlling. I don't know, but point is, great trailer for Kinds of Kindness. It's Kinds of Kindness. It's like 4 movies in one. It's 4 separate stories that kind of go together. So even the trailer, like, it has so many different things going on. It feels like it's like a lot of crazy shit. And the song just ties everything together. Even the lyrics in the song, like, some of them want to use you and abuse you. I mean, it's a perfect song for the movie, because those are the themes that happens in there. So I appreciate Yorgos and his kind of writing and stuff, but it's a beautiful film. It wasn't a total, knock out of the park home run for me, but it's definitely worth a watch, and I will probably be rewatching it as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
With you're talking about like the themes of the song itself was written when Annie Lennox and I can't remember the other guy's name, the guy in the band, they broke up with their other band, broke up, to Taurus. So this was their first song that they wrote, I believe, in response. So it's kind of about the breakup of the band. They also broke up as a couple, but they continued to collaborate. And and there was the first time they had ever really worked with synthesizers. So the song itself is the dueling like synthesizer part was just them kind of messing around with it.
Yeah.
And it's it's funny. I don't know if this is intentional for the trailer itself, but that part of the story behind the song kind of adds to the elements within the movie, it seems like.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think it's a remix. I think it's the actual like original song, which I feel there's a tendency to want to remix, like you said earlier, like make this kind of weird cover. And I feel like this just shows how timeless this song is. This song's 40 something years old.
It's so solid. And I mean, synth is something I've like 90s dance music, and then just like synth heavy, like 80s stuff is something I'm really kind of back into right now. And yeah, as soon as I saw that trailer, I was immediately in love with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things too, and I feel like a lot of people are talking about like Emma Stone's like weird dancing in it, but just a little like,
that was good.
The little like cut pieces of dialogue where Jesse Plemons is talking about Margaret Qualley's character and corresponding with the song, and it's just cut so well.
Yeah,
and it's something that
it's sharp.
Yeah, for sure. It's something that when in thinking about trailers and trailers that really stand out, I think this is one that I forget about. But then watching it, like, oh no, like this is solid. Like this is something that is kind of almost underappreciated.
Well, and I almost forgot about it too. I when you first asked me for 5, I picked something else, and then it was literally the first trailer I thought of when you mentioned it. And then when I gave you my list, I was like, oh fuck, I forgot that song. Like I forgot that trailer. I forgot that song. And I had to put it back on because it's just, it's definitely one of the better trailers of the last few years that I've seen. And I watch a lot. I probably watch 10 or 11 movie trailers a day on YouTube just to find like 2 to post in the group.
Oh yeah. I remember back in the day, and maybe this is a millennial thing with trailers, because I remember going to Apple.com specifically for
Apple
their movie
trailers. Yes, yeah.
And I don't even know if Apple movie trailers is still a thing, because YouTube just has kind of taken the monopoly on it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I specifically remember that too. My cousin was like, AppleMovieTrailers.com. Yeah. I was like, okay.
I remember watching Revenge of the Sith, which is another great trailer. Movie's fine. Yeah. I think I like it more than most people. But I remember watching it in like the band hall in high school, like after school, and me and like one friend were like, oh my God, like this is gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
with there's a tendency now. I think a lot of biggest complaints with movie trailers now is it gives away too much of the story.
Yes.
This one does not at all. And I feel like even without seeing the movie, it tells me enough to know the kind of tone of where the movie is going without revealing.
I call this a vibe trailer.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very much, we're not going to tell you what it's about, but we're going to show you the kind of world and the vibe that these characters are in. Because, it reveals very little, which I actually love about it, too. And I agree, like, especially with horror movies and a lot of action movies now. Like the Beekeeper trailer, it shows Jason Statham killing, like, the main bad guy in the trailer. Like, it's like, well, what the fuck? Like, there's no stakes left. Like, I know everything that happens, you know? I don't know if that's a new thing because they think audiences won't go if they don't know enough or something, but... Yeah, and I've even had people tell me, like, I don't want to join your movie trailers group because I don't like watching trailers because I go in blind because they ruin everything. And I'm like, I get it, but, you know, I try not to post those type of trailers, one, and also it's a nostalgia thing, too. But, yeah, I mean, I love a trailer that doesn't give anything away or does something in an inventive way. And I think this having just, like, a couple lines of dialogue and just showing random shit happening, like the dogs in the car and, like, you know, the change from black and white, like, you can just tell that it's going to be a fun, visually pleasing movie.
Yeah, I have a friend who, when he hears about, he's a big MCU guy, big just Marvel in general, big comics guy. He avoided everything for No Way Home. And he was excited, he didn't look up anything, didn't watch any trailers. He goes into the restroom before he's going to see it. Someone walking out of the restroom starts talking about a certain death. And he was like, are you fucking serious? I've like avoided this for 3 months, 4 months probably. So yeah, I can respect that because I like to be surprised too.
That happened to me with Last Jedi.
Oh, really?
With Han Solo. Was it Last Jedi?
That was Force Awakens.
Force Awakens, sorry. Yeah. Avoided trailers forever, months and months and months. We already had the tickets. And then once we got to the theater, my friend fucking opens his mouth. I was like, are you serious, dude? Like, we're here. We're at the place. I made it. We're here. We're walking in. Are you fucking kidding? I was so mad.
Yeah. It's getting to the finish line and just taking a nap.
Oh, yeah.
I think that one trailer I think really could have benefited from this from a story perspective. I don't know about from a box office perspective is Annabelle with the little girl. Because the first half of that trailer, it's like, oh, this is like Panic Room. This is like, it's very Fincher-esque. Yeah. And then it's a fucking vampire movie. And it was fun.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah. And it's that's one of my wife's favorite movies. We actually saw Robert Rodriguez. He showed that in a double feature with what was the second movie? I can't remember. But he talks about that in the sense that he was intentionally trying to make two different movies. Yeah. And I don't remember the trailer back then. Now get down, bud.
You want to go to Daddy?
Okay, this is
fine. From Dusk Till Dawn. That's actually a really cool trailer too.
I don't even remember why. I need to watch it. I should have watched it in preparation for this because it starts off as this kind of like heist prison break movie, and then it evolves into a vampire movie. Ooh.
Teddy took a tumble.
I know that a lot of studios are probably scared to do something like that. I know Ryan Reynolds was talking about he wanted to have this like fake movie for Deadpool 3, and then you go to see this fake action movie and it ends up being Deadpool 3.
That's genius.
Yeah, it's very...
I mean, it's not because you'd make more money if you said Deadpool 3, but I love the idea.
Yeah, the studio wouldn't let him do that. Yeah. And then it's very Andy Kaufman-ish. Right. And I think that from an art perspective, it's genius because that's something by second week, everyone, I don't know. It would have been fun.
Everyone loves a switcheroo when it works out in your favor.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the opposite was Spring Breakers. People were expecting a different type of movie, and they go in to see it, and it was a lot more art house than they were expecting.
I did not like that one. And what's his name?
Harmony Korine.
Harmony Korine. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like his early movies were so good. And then now I feel like he's I feel like you were saying earlier, he's kind of become a caricature of himself. I feel like he thinks certain people expect certain things, so he makes those kind of movies instead of making the movies that he wants. But I mean, that's all just in my head and what I think about it. So it's probably false, but I don't know. I wasn't into Spring Breakers. I wasn't into whatever the last one, the Beach Bum with McConaughey. Yeah.
There's he's a weird guy, Harmony Korine. Like, I don't know if you ever watched Letterman interviews with him.
Yeah, like where he has like the puppet or whatever.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh yeah.
There's one where
he's got some weird interviews.
He's just talking about his book that's coming out. It's about like a race war, and it feels like a bit. It feels like a Nathan Fielder bit almost.
Yeah.
But I think that's just who he is.
Yeah, he's just, I don't know.
Kind of, closing it out from here. What are some trailers that you want to include that you couldn't fit into the 5?
Yeah. Well, one of the ones I sent you was The Social Network, because I just think that movie is just absolutely amazing. Fincher at the top of his game. Atticus and Trent Reznor. I think that was the first movie they scored, and they've gone on to do a great handful now.
Won an Oscar.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that trailer's just, it's so unassuming.
Yeah, I
remembered when the trailer first came out, and even probably before the trailer came out when it was announced, I was like, they're making a movie about Facebook, like. There's no fucking way that's going to be good. And it ended up being one of the best movies of the year, and still, a 10 out of 10 movie in my opinion. But the trailer has an acoustic version of Creep by Radiohead, and it's like slow, and it's just kind of building up to, you're like, what is, when is something going to happen? And then you're like, oh shit, like this movie looks really good.
Yeah.
And it's, but yeah, I mean, just kind of the slow, I'm a weirdo and what am I doing here? And just showing like the campus and like that kind of dark orange sort of trademark Fincher look to it. You're like, okay, something sinister is behind the surface of this. And the song kind of also it gives you that vibe that like something's off. So I think that's a really, really cool trailer. Requiem for a Dream, I wanted to have because I love that song.
It's like something Eterno.
Yeah, by the Kronos Quartet, who Darren Aronofsky used to use all the time for like all his movies, from Pi to Black Swan to The Fountain, which is one of my favorite movies ever. But then I rewatched the trailer and I realized they don't even have that song in the trailer. But what's hilarious is like the next year, there was like 5 or 6 songs that had that trailer, that song in the trailer, including Sunshine.
Oh.
If you rewatch the Sunshine trailer, it has the Requiem for a Dream song in it. That song kind of, I don't know what happened, if there was like it wasn't trademarked or if they didn't give a shit, but man, even like video game like trailers and stuff would have that song in it. Like that song was all over the place after that movie came out.
I can't hear that without thinking of Jared Leto's busted up arm, like just and that's some Cronenberg shit, man. Like it just it looks like Kuatu from Total Recall was about to pop out.
Open your mind.
My brother refused when he was having a kid. Refused to get the 4D ultrasound because he said it looks like Kuatu. I can't see my son that way.
That's fun. They do look like that. Oh my god.
One of my favorite trailers is Fincher also, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, is another Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor.
Absolutely.
With Karen O, who's one of my favorite musicians of all time, and they do a cover to Immigrant Song, and it's obviously got like multiple meanings for the movie. And oh man, that trailer rips. And then the like industrial drums they add at the beginning of it, like it just takes a song that's already like timeless and just like puts another like spice on it. And then another one is kind of become, it was probably already kind of a cliche to use Johnny Cash's Hurt in a trailer about something sad, but Logan is one of my favorite trailers.
Oh yeah, Logan is great.
Yeah, and just, I mean, it's so on the nose. It's Old Man Logan. It's Wolverine at the end of his life, towards the end of his life. And Johnny Cash, did record that song towards the end of his life.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that they
and another Trent Reznor title.
Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
A cover of yeah.
Just the fact that they used the more uplifting part of the song at the end too, because I feel like most trailers kind of just go with the intro.
Yeah.
They do such a great job with that. I feel like they use that. It wasn't that song actually. I was thinking that they used it in The Wrestler, another Aronofsky.
Yeah.
But I think it's a different song actually.
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember what it was.
I really appreciate you coming on, man. This is a lot of fun. Do you have anything to plug?
Oh yeah. Well, I was not expecting this, but since you asked, my my book Haiku Noir is available on Amazon, and it's got about 88 pages of fun, dark haikus that I wrote, and this is for you.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. This is dope.
You can follow me at the Bryan Powell on everything. Join the Facebook group if you want to talk movies and trailers. A lot of people post stuff about upcoming movies and behind the scenes articles as well. It's just a fun little community. My band Cel Shade is playing a show December 13th and I think January 19th at Lonesome Rose. Follow us at cel.shade on Instagram. And go watch some movies. Let's talk about it.
Oh yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate you coming out. And thank you for listening to the Mixtape series.
All right, let's do this. Nailed it.